Well, 2015 is coming to an end. Thank God!
You know, I remember a lot of people complain about 2014 and how that was just an awful year, and really, I can't agree. I loved 2014. I had a great job while attending college, I had a great job in the summer, I lived close to my friends, I was taking great classes, and I had a good workout routine going for me. 2015, on the other hand, my job sucked, my home life sucked, my last semester at college partially sucked, I barely get to see any of my friends outside of video and Facebook chats, and even going to the gym was difficult. Oh, and there was also that time I had to fight the dark side of my personality, which had taken physical form and forced me to watch terrible movies, episodes, and reviews. But that was nothing once we hit summer. The only good thing I could say about this year is that it will make every other year look better by comparison. No matter how bad 2016 is, I could say, hey, at least it wasn't 2015, unless I become homeless. Or die.
One of the few things that gave me any hint of joy this year were watching movies, but even then, there are still a bunch that I haven't seen because I didn't have time to. Bridge of Spies, The Good Dinosaur, the Peanuts movie, Straight Outta Compton, Joy, Spotlight, Rogue Nation, all of these. I'm gonna spoil something right now. Half of this list is composed of sequels, but all of them did make 2015 slightly more bearable. And in fact, I once again have 8 honorable mentions.
Paddington, a really cute, funny, and charming little film that may not have any huge surprises, is worth seeing due to its likable cast and creativity. Kingsman: The Secret Service, a complete balls-to-the-wall, insane homage to spy films that is some of the most entertaining, over-the-top action I saw this year. The cast is really good, the direction is great, and if a movie can make me go, holy fuck, in a good way, I have to recommend it. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, an incredibly funny movie with plenty of jokes for both kids and the adults. The best SpongeBob related thing in a while, and possibly even better than the original. Chappie. Okay, this movie is flawed. Really, really flawed. But it had a sense of humor to it that let me forgive most of them. I adored Chappie, it looked great, and the action scenes were a lot of fun. Predestination. I know in most other countries this was released in 2014, but I consider it 2015 release here in the States. When I saw this, I thought I was going to get a nice time travel story, but I actually got an amazing dramatic story about a young bartender. One of the biggest surprises I've seen. Paper Towns. While not as good as The Fault in Our Stars, this was a really well done mystery romance with some interesting and relatable characters. And at one point they sang the original Pokemon theme, so that's a plus. The Duff. Sort of a mix between Easy A and Ferris Bueller, The Duff gets points just for using the extremely underrated Mae Whitman. It was funny, it was likable, it left me with a good feeling at the end. And finally, Ant-Man, one of the most fun movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, shows that you don't need to go bigger in order to be really good. I loved Paul Rudd, I loved the spy aspect, and the action and special effects were fantastic.
And now on to the actual list. So let's try and prove that 2015 had some good in it. This is my...
Top 10 favorite movies of 2015. Number 10.
Let's talk about Predestination again.
I really like this movie, but it wasn't really for the time travel aspect. It was more for the backstory of this one character named Jane. Not to say the time travel stuff was bad, but it wasn't as grandiose as I was hoping.
Personally, I prefer my time travel movies to be outright batshit insane.
Project Almanac is not a perfect movie. It isn't anything resembling a perfect movie. The time travel stuff is such a clusterfuck that you sort of just have to accept that everything makes sense or else you'll go insane. It gets sidetracked, none of the cast look like they should be in high school, and the plot sounds like something that should have been a Disney Channel original movie. In fact, I think this was a Disney Channel original movie.
And it was a blast!
I was totally on board the whole time. If Predestination is smart and sophisticated like Back to the Future, then Project Almanac is like Back to the Future 2. Completely insane, throws everything at the wall, and I loved every minute of it. But I also really liked the characters. They weren't the most complex, and they were sort of stereotypes, but I liked them. They were funny, they were likable, the actors were good, and it's also a pretty good found footage movie. It doesn't bring too much new to the table other than, hey, we haven't had a found footage time travel movie yet, but it did it well. It took some of the best parts from Chronicle and Project X and just ran with it. Yes, I know this was made by Platinum Dunes, but you know, they also made The Purge too, and I like that, so for all its flaws, I really dug the hell out of this film. Now, are movies like Ant-Man and Predestination technically better? Oh, yeah. Hell, Ex Machina is technically a better movie, and that didn't even make my honorable mentions. But I really like this one. You can tell me I'm wrong all you want. I really enjoyed Project Almanac. Number 9.
Well, you probably saw this coming.
Nana? Nana, you okay?
After 2 big-budget flops, M. Night Shyamalan decided to take the money he made from directing After Earth and go back to his roots, with a small-budget, found-footage thriller, and the result is his best movie since Signs. Yeah, I may like The Happening in the Village, but The Visit ranks right up there with Signs and The Sixth Sense as one of Shyamalan's best films. And despite what the trailers may have made you think, The Visit isn't really a straight horror movie. It's more of a comedic thriller, and in that regard, it works. Comedy-wise, I laughed a lot. It isn't gut-wrenching, you won't be able to stop laughing, but it is consistently funny. And as a thriller, it was really fucking creepy. These grandparents from the very beginning just have an uncomfortable atmosphere surrounding them, and it not only makes the creepy moments better, but makes some of the funny moments a bit more nerve-wracking. Like, I was laughing, but it was kinda like this. I also really like the characters. The kids are likable, Tyler's a freaking riot, and the acting is really good. Deanna Duggan as the grandmother, I swear, deserves some kind of award. She provides some of the best laughs and the best scares. One jump scare involving her actually made me scream in a way I haven't since The Conjuring. And the found footage was really used well here. Some of the music felt tacked on, and Tyler being a germaphobe felt kinda pointless in the grand scheme of things, but I had a blast with The Visit, and look forward to seeing more stuff like this and less like this. Number 8. Back when this was released, I saw that it was getting a very mixed reception from both critics and audiences, and I couldn't understand why. Now that I've seen it, I get it. I don't agree, but I get it. Tomorrowland is kind of a mess, I won't deny that, but it has so many good things about it that I can't dislike it. Hell, I love it. And really, it was only the ending of the movie that I thought was a bit too jumbled. Everything else I thought was solid to freaking amazing. First, visually, this movie is brilliant. And I'm not just talking about the scenes in Tomorrowland. Even the scenes outside of it are just beautiful to look at. The acting is really good, especially Britt Robinson and Raffi Cassidy. And I just loved Robertson's character Casey. The action scenes are fun, the special effects are great, it's very creative, but the reason I loved it so much was because of its message. It's amazing how just 50 years ago we looked forward to the future. We loved thinking about it. We thought of flying cars and robots that could do anything, but now we fear the future. All we think about is global warming, war, nuclear holocausts, and robot uprisings. When did we get so paranoid? And as Casey says, how do we fix it? We always say the planet is doomed and we're all going to die, but few people want to offer up any solutions to the problem. And that is what this movie is trying to tell us. We've gotten so used to the future that sucks that we don't even realize that we can make a great future. We just have to put in a little work. In fact, one of the complaints I hear directed at this movie is we don't get to see too much of Tomorrowland, but the fact that we wanted to see more is actually a very subtle way for this movie to convey its message. We want that future. Well, we're gonna have to go and get it. It's gonna take a lot of work, but as the movie shows, if we can put in the effort, we can do it. And that's why I love this movie so much, and you can expect to see a Nordy's Forgotten Flicks of this sometime in the future. Number 7.
Fun fact, I actually saw this movie with my parents, and I still really enjoyed it. So if you don't like this movie, you are objectively wrong.
It tried to break the glass.
I like us for it.
As one of the few people who actually enjoyed both Jurassic Park sequels, I kinda knew going into this that I was probably gonna like it. But I was really surprised how tense this movie was. The other movies did a good job of building suspense just before a dino attack, but this movie almost trolls you with how much time they spend building these things up, especially the Indominus Rex, which they do a good job of hiding for a large portion of the movie. But then when all hell breaks loose, it's just a blast. The action scenes in this are great, from the attack on the gyrosphere to the pterodactyl attack with one of the most over-the-top death scenes I've seen in a while, to the final battle, which almost had me scream, "Fuck yeah!" And personally, I thought the special effects were really good. They're nowhere near as groundbreaking as the first one, but I thought they looked fine. The acting is good, and I really liked all these characters. Okay, the villain was a bit disappointing. He was basically straight out of the 90s, but I liked Claire, I liked the kids, I loved Chris Pratt. And please stop saying he was sexist, you're not helping any cause whatsoever. This movie was clearly written by Jurassic Park fanboys. Hell, the director himself voiced Mr. DNA in a small cameo. And because of that, yeah, it's a bit silly because, you know, the first one wasn't silly at all. Look, if you don't like this movie, that's cool, but please don't pretend that the first movie is perfect. Don't get me wrong, I love it. It's in my top 3 favorite movies. But it had its dumb moments, cliche characters, and mostly just wanted to show off dinosaurs. And that's what I got with Jurassic World. It's a B movie, but a great B movie. Number 6.
Well, I put every other movie from this franchise in my other top 10 best of the year list, so you can't really be surprised that it's on here.
Squad 451, you're my unit. Lieutenant Jackson is my second in command. Each one of you is elite in some form of combat, but we are a non-combat unit, so we'll be following days behind the frontline troops.
It's very rare that I see a movie franchise in which I find the first movie to be the weakest, but The Hunger Games is one of those franchises. Again, I liked the first one a lot, but the sequels have pretty much blown away the first movie in every possible way. And while Catching Fire is still the best, Mockingjay Part 2 ends the series on the best note it possibly could. This is not a cheery movie. If you are expecting the ending of Deathly Hallows where all was well, you aren't really gonna get it. People die, and you know what? I was actually kinda torn up about it. I really ended up loving a lot of these characters, even ones that were only introduced in the last movie. By the end, it leaves you with more of a bittersweet note than a triumphant one. But hey, that's how war is. This movie definitely feels like a continuation of part 1 because the best element is the suspense. Not just the action, but the dialogue scenes just have this unnerving atmosphere to them. But speaking of those action scenes, they were very well done. Thankfully, the shaky cam was greatly reduced for this one. I'm not sure why they fixed it for Catching Fire, then brought it back for Mockingjay 1 only to take it out here. There's a scene set underground that felt like the movie movie Alien in the best possible way. The acting is really good, the pacing was a little slow at the beginning, but I thought they got it right by the halfway point, and the effects are really good. And I just love the message of this movie, that there is so much going on behind the scenes of everyone's life that you don't know. You can apply that to politics, to people you see online. They could be saying something, but there may be something going on in their personal life that you just don't know about. Feel free to disagree, but I think the Hunger Games franchise is so far the best movie franchise of the 2010s.
'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. No, I've still got a lot of fight left in me.
Yeah, I know that I let you down. Is it too late to say sorry now?
Number 5.
So, why was this considered a disappointment again?
All of you against all of me. How can you possibly hope to stop me?
Like the old man said. Together.
Because it was pretty much exactly what I was hoping it would be. An incredibly fun movie that was a bit more serious and developed the characters from the first film. That was what I was hoping for, and that's what I got. Hell, I may have even gotten more than I expected. I was not expecting Hawkeye to be one of the best characters in the movie. He went from being the most boring member of the team to having a defined personality in this one. I loved the character interactions in this movie, just like the first. Honestly, it could have just been these guys sitting around at a party for 2 hours, and it probably still would have been on this list. That's how much I love these characters. Iron Man, badass, and no, he isn't an idiot for no matter how many times people try to say he is. Thor, awesome. Black Widow, awesome. Captain America, awesome. And I like the new characters too. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were pretty cool for the little development they got, and Ultron was a great villain. I mean, they had to work pretty hard to make a villain as good as Loki, and they came pretty damn close. And of course, the action and special effects are phenomenal. There is not a weak action set piece in the movie. Every single one was fun to watch. The climax was great, and I felt like it was kind of giving a giant fuck you to Man of Steel, and it ended on just the right note. I honestly don't get why this movie wasn't as praised as the first. Hell, I saw an article saying this was one of the most overrated movies of the year. How?
I'm not saying it's as groundbreaking as the first, or I enjoyed watching it as much, but really all I can ask for is that you stick with what works, and you improve the stuff that needs improving.
Number 4.
Right now, the Hermes is headed towards you, starting its month-long deceleration to intercept. But instead, what I'm proposing is...
I had a hard time deciding if this or Age of Ultron was better. I decided on The Martian because Age of Ultron had an easy job making me care since it's a sequel. The Martian had to make me care.
And boy did it succeed. The only thing keeping The Martian afloat is you caring about Matt Damon's character and wanting him to get home, and thankfully I did. And the reason is because he was surprisingly funny. I expected this to be some sort of dark drama with a lot of crying, but it was actually really humorous. The dialogue is good, the chemistry between the actors is great, and the script is simple but allows for some nice conflict. During the climax, I was so tense that I nearly gave myself a Charlie horse. That's how good the ending is. Also, the movie is visually perfect. I'm not exaggerating, there is not one scene that I thought to myself, I'm looking at a special effect. Honestly, this felt a lot like Gravity, except that was more atmosphere and camera driven. This doesn't even really draw attention to the effects that much. It really focused more on the characters. I love this movie, it was so good it made me want to read the book. And while it may not be quite as good as Alien, it certainly deserves to be regarded as a Ridley Scott sci-fi classic.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah, I know that I let you down. Is it too late to say sorry now?
Number 3.
Wow. What a film. What a lovely film. What a lovely film!
Well, here it is. The movie everyone was raving about. Everyone kept saying, you gotta see Fury Road, you gotta see Fury Road. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. There is a small part of me that is tired of people treating it like it's the freaking second coming. I mean, just because I love this movie doesn't mean I like Age of Ultron or Jurassic World any less. But yeah, Fury Road is just a kick-ass action movie that is non-stop adrenaline through the whole thing. Every character gets a personality through minimal dialogue and strong performances. From Tom Hardy as a silent hero in Max, to Charlize Theron as a kick-ass Furiosa, and a Morton Joe who is in no way mediocre.
I don't know why, but I have been quoting that one line since I saw this movie.
And the action and special effects are freaking fantastic. The chase scene gets you pumped up so much that by the end, I didn't realize I was breathing so heavily while watching it. And yeah, that's about it. Moving on. Number 2.
We might! In that quad jumper!
Hey! We need a pilot!
We've got one!
The movie that's been breaking box office records for the past few weeks, and I managed to find time to actually see it. As I think I've made it painfully clear, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. My dad showed me the original trilogy on VHS when I was really little, and then I grew up watching the prequels in theaters. And now we have episode 7, and yeah, it's pretty much just as good as everyone has been saying. Is it perfect? No, the plot is basically just a New Hope with different characters, and a few differences here and there, but other than that, I can't think of much I didn't like about it. The action scenes are phenomenal. They have this feeling of suspense throughout all of them, and even when there is not action, there's always this feeling that something bad could happen, so it's always on the move. Visually, it's beautiful, and I'm not just talking the effects. Just the look of the planets and creatures were visually interesting. The effects work is great, except for Snoke. Something about him just didn't look right, but other than that, everything else was great. And I loved every new character. Rey is a badass, Finn is very energetic and charismatic, Poe is awesome, Kylo Ren is threatening through most of the movie, and the first time they show off their newish weapon, I had my jaw wide open. And then of course there's BB-8. I love this little dude, and it's amazing how they managed to get so much emotion out of a character with no face. And really, this movie gets down what I like most about Star Wars. The adventure. Going to all these different worlds and seeing all these different creatures. I love seeing those. Now, about those nitpickers, and I'm not talking about people like Max Landis saying Rey's a Mary Sue in an attempt to stay relevant after his movies bombed. I mean the people who say stuff like Kylo Ren isn't as badass as Darth Vader. To them, I think Brad Jones said it best.
Every fucking paragraph writing, nitpicky, angry asshole about Force Awakens can sit down and shut the fuck up.
Thank you, Brad. I'm glad that kids will grow up watching these movies in theaters the same way I grew up watching episodes 1 through 3 in theaters.
Would you still love me the same? Sorry, yeah, I know that I let you down. Is it too late to say sorry now?
Number 1.
Sometimes you just see a movie that matches your current situation perfectly.
What the heck is that?
Broccoli on pizza. That's it. I'm done.
Congratulations, San Francisco. You've ruined pizza. First the Hawaiians, and now you.
I didn't see Inside Out in theaters. I didn't get to see it until it came out in Blu-ray in early November. I actually didn't get to see a lot of movies in theaters over the summer because, as I mentioned at the beginning, my life had pretty much turned to shit by summer. So when I sat down to watch the movie, needless to say, I was pretty much a mess. Much like Riley in this movie. I was angry all the time at everyone around me. I was disgusted by other people because of their stupidity. and really just scared that this would be my life. Notice I was never sad. I didn't have time to be sad. I was mostly scared and angry. But this movie showed me, and this might be a bit of a spoiler, so be warned, but it showed me that you need sadness. Trying to cover up stuff that upsets you through false joy and anger isn't a good thing. And needless to say, I cried after this movie, and in a way, I felt better afterward. Because yeah, you need sadness in your life, and you can't just be angry or happy or scared all the time. And that's the main reason why I love this movie. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of other great reasons to love it. The animation is absolutely beautiful, the voice acting is fantastic, the characters are great and lovable, it's hilarious, endlessly creative, and incredibly smart for not just a family film, but for any film. It's one of my favorite Pixar movies, probably tied at number 3 with The Incredibles. Would I have loved it if my life had been pretty good at that point? Oh, definitely, and don't get me wrong, a lot of these other movies did make me happy and lift my spirits while I was watching them, but Inside Out showed me I should not only laugh, I should not only be scared, and I should not only be enthralled, but sometimes you need to be sad.
Thank you, Inside Out. Thanks.
Oh, I think that I found myself a cheerleader. She is always right there when I need her.
So, that was my top 10 best movies of 2015. Maybe the year wasn't as big a loss as I thought it was. Unfortunately, 2016 is going to be a bit sporadic, at least at the beginning. I'm probably not going to get as many videos out as I usually do, at least until the end of summer, but I'll try my hardest to get as good quality videos to you as I can. And sorry some of my videos weren't up to my usual standard, like the Magaboy video, the Slumdog Millionaire defenses, the Great Snail Race. I really, really want to thank you all so much for watching, and I really do mean that. See you next time. Bye.